On the morning of August 12, 2000, beneath the calm, freezing surface of the Barents Sea, a giant glided silently. This was the K-141 Kursk, a 154-meter Oscar II-class nuclear submarine, the pride of the Russian Northern Fleet. With its double-hulled construction, it was considered virtually unsinkable, a symbol of post-Soviet technological might. On board were 118 sailors, most of them young, proud, and highly trained. They served inside a steel beast, a complex and claustrophobic world of narrow corridors, humming machinery, and recycled air. Life on a submarine is always a delicate balance between precision engineering and human endurance. But on this day, that balance was about to be shattered. Inside the submarine, 9 compartments were separated by thick, watertight bulkheads. The very first compartment, the torpedo room, housed the weapons. What no one knew was that one of those torpedoes, an old training model, was a ticking time bomb. It used a volatile propellant called high-test peroxide. At 11:28 a.m., as the crew prepared to fire a dummy torpedo, a faulty seal is believed to have caused a leak. When the peroxide reacted with metal inside the torpedo casing, it decomposed violently, creating a massive buildup of high-temperature, steam, and oxygen. The result was an explosion equivalent to 100 kilograms of TNT. The temperature in the forward compartment instantly soared, and a shockwave tore through the bow. Men in the torpedo room had no time to react. Throughout the rest of the submarine, sailors felt a deep, metallic bang, as if the entire vessel had been punched by something colossal. Alarms screamed, and the control room lit up with red warnings. The fire suppression system activated, but it was already too late. Then, just 2 minutes later, the unimaginable happened. The intense heat from the first blast cooked off the other torpedoes in the room. These weren't training models, they were live warheads. The second explosion was catastrophic, equivalent to nearly 7 tons of TNT. It was so powerful, it was registered by seismographs hundreds of kilometers away. The blast obliterated the first 3 compartments of the submarine, ripping the outer hull open like a tin can. Seawater rushed in instantly. A wall of force rolled backward through the vessel, slamming into the crew. In that single, horrifying moment, 95 more men died. The Kursk, its buoyancy gone, plunged nose first, slamming into the seabed 108 meters below. For the 23 men who survived, huddled together in compartment 9 at the very stern of the submarine, reality became brutally simple. The power was gone. The air was cold. Their world had shrunk to a single, dark metal room. The steel bulkheads groaned under the immense pressure of the sea, a constant reminder of how close they were to being crushed. They had flashlights and a few chemical light sticks, but their most precious resource was quickly running out: oxygen. Every breath they took consumed a little more of the air that was keeping them alive. As the hours passed, the temperature inside the compartment dropped steadily, bleeding heat into the icy Barents Sea. Psychologically, the men were trapped in a deadly equation. They knew how much air they had, they knew how deep they were, and they knew that any rescue would be slow. In these situations, the first instinct is to assess the damage. But with all communications dead, they were completely cut off. A senior lieutenant named Dmitry Kolesnikov seems to have taken charge. He maintained order and rationed what little they had. As they waited in the freezing darkness, the environment around them deteriorated rapidly. Carbon dioxide levels rose, causing headaches, dizziness, and then confusion. The humidity became so thick that the air felt heavy and wet. They were trained soldiers, but they were also fathers, sons, and brothers waiting in a steel tomb at the bottom of the ocean. Among the most haunting artifacts recovered from the Kursk was a handwritten note found in the pocket of Lieutenant Kolesnikov. Written in complete darkness, the first part read, "There is no fire. I am writing blindly. 23 men in Section 9. We are waiting." It as a testament to their calm and their hope for a rescue that would never come in time. The Russian Navy's response was crippled by bureaucratic confusion and a refusal to accept international help. By the time British and Norwegian rescue teams were finally allowed to assist, it was far too late. When divers eventually entered the wreck, they found the aft compartment flooded and silent. The design of the submarine, with multiple torpedoes stored so close together, made a sympathetic detonation almost inevitable. But the ultimate tragedy of the Kursk is that the 23 survivors could have been saved. Their section of the hull remained intact for days. Atmospheric modeling suggests they had about 6 to 8 hours of breathable air. They didn't die from the explosion or a hull breach. They died waiting for a rescue that came too late as the air slowly turned toxic from their own breath. Death likely came quietly as they slipped into unconsciousness from a lack of oxygen and the creeping cold. The Kursk disaster became a national scandal in Russia, forcing the government to modernize its rescue systems and embrace international cooperation. But for the families of the 118 men who were lost, it remains a permanent scar. The story of the Kursk endures not just because of the technical failure, but because of the profound human drama that unfolded in its final hours. It's a story of courage in the face of impossible odds, of men who followed their training, organized, and waited with discipline until the very end. In darkness, in cold, in silence, thanks for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into history's most significant events